Investigation by The Guardian newspaper has revealed that Britain's largest police force stole the identities of dozens of dead children for use by undercover officers. The scheme went ahead without informing or consulting any of the parents. Let's get more on this potential scandal here and talk live with investigative journalist Tony Gosling joining us live here in Bristol. Good to see you today. Certainly, as you can imagine, we're already seeing the news is raising some eyebrows among the British public. Is the story going to snowball? Where will it end, do you think?
Well, it's just the latest chapter, isn't it, of police corruption here in Britain. I mean, I'm pinching myself today again, Rory, wondering if I live in a democracy or not. We're talking about the identities of 80 dead children stolen by the police. I mean, you do wonder, don't you? They seem to be indistinguishable from some of the criminals that they're supposed to be investigating. And this wouldn't be necessarily so bad if these people who were, infiltrated into these groups were actually criminals that they were looking at. A lot of them have actually committed no criminal offences whatsoever. They were doing things like organising peaceful demonstrations. I mean, we've seen a similar kind of attitude by the Metropolitan Police, and I think, it's fair to focus on the Met and Scotland Yard rather than regional police forces, who it doesn't seem were anywhere near as bad at these kind of things. And then this is adding really to the other revelations from The Guardian. The Guardian's been doing a fantastic job on this over the last few weeks and months, of the 11 women who had their lives hacked, basically relationships, even children born with police officers infiltrating into these groups and forming relationships with women.
Right, Tony, I do apologise for jumping in, but if I can just stay on the initial subject here. We're talking about the idea of basically intelligence officers using the names of dead children to infiltrate certain groups. Now, I've got to play devil's advocate for a moment here. Do you think for a moment, though, the police were doing so with good intentions to infiltrate troublemakers and to root out what could be trouble down the road here? I mean, they're just using the names of dead children, aren't they?
Well, I'm afraid causing trouble is not necessarily a criminal offence. The point being here, one can understand extreme measures being authorised to infiltrate serious organised crime. For example, mafia-type organised crime, maybe people who are actually murderers and mafia types. But actually, these people weren't that at all, and that's the point. That there's really no excuse for this kind of behaviour. And actually, the police, OK, they may have had these things authorised, but actually what they're doing is breaking the law. They should never have had the authorisation to go and hack those, into those women's lives and either into these families. So they basically see themselves as above the law, and I'm afraid that's the country we're living in now. I'm afraid it looks as if the police have just had that attitude at Scotland Yard now for decades. We've heard, apparently, that this is no longer authorised, not currently authorised by the Metropolitan Police. Now, I don't really necessarily trust that expression, not currently authorised. Well,
you talk about not currently being authorised.
Apparently,
yeah, this may have indeed started in 1968. It's possible it goes back several decades. But one former undercover agent reportedly said that he felt like he was, quote, stomping on the grave of a 4-year-old boy whose identity he was given. Now, you'd imagine, though, with everything at the police disposal, the great and world-famous British intelligence, surely they would have had more options than this to get the job done.
Well, one wonders where else these infiltrations have been taking place as well. Do they have police agents within our political parties? Where are the lines being drawn? Because it doesn't seem like there are any lines being drawn. And I'm absolutely behind the former Director of Public Prosecutions, Lord MacDonald, who is now saying that there must be a public inquiry into these kinds of police practices. Let's not forget, these are Crown servants. Does Her Majesty know that they're up to this? Does she approve? And I mean, there has to be a really deep inquiry here. The Guardian have dug up a real can of worms, and there's absolutely no accountability, it seems, by these things that have been authorised through Scotland Yard. The idea that people haven't complained about it, therefore it's OK. Well, of course they're not going to complain about it if they don't know about it. It's almost like the Scotland Yard has been being run like some kind of secret cult, and we've got to break that cult if we're going to have justice, and we're going to have decent, fair policing, and some of the really big criminals, that is the fraudsters in the City of London, investigated by our police and taken to jail for it.
All right, well, certainly it's not the last we're going to hear of this story here. Tony Gosling, investigative journalist, live from Bristol. A pleasure to have you on the programme here on RT today.
Thanks, Rory.